the Thomases, as they battle each other. Both of them thinks the other one ducked him. We've heard them talk about that. The question is, when it gets into the ring, who's going to get the job done? You look at it on paper, the records, Marlon Thomas 8-0 with 5 KOs, has it all over Stevie Thomas, who's 4-4-1 with 4 KOs. All victories coming by knockout, but he's got 4 losses and a draw also.
Steve Thomas, nice straight right hand is his best weapon. A slender guy with that right hand, and has his share of bright moments. You know, just over a year ago, they matched him in Atlantic City in an ill-advised match, and he just got, oh, there they go. Marlon Thomas reached out into the midsection of Steve Thomas, gave him a little pat. Steve Thomas whipped around, gave him a smack. So I guess they're ready.
I think they're ready, and Marlon Thomas is ready big time. He likes the idea of this fight, and I think Steve Thomas just got an idea that he better be ready too, because Marlon looks like he's ready to go in a big way.
Well, he got the upper hand in the psychological game with that little deal. He got Steve Thomas. First he surprised him, and he did get him a little bit upset. Maybe he's not anymore.
Well, he got a smile come to the face of Emmanuel Stewart too, who is working the corner of Marlon Thomas. Well, let's go to the ring announcer Wally Jackson right now and get the official introductions to this backyard brawl.
And now, fight fans, this is 6 rounds in the junior welterweight division. The third man in the ring is Marvin McDonald. Introducing first in the red corner, weighed in at 137 3/4 pounds. As a professional, he has 4 wins, 4 defeats, 1 draw, 4 wins by way of knockout. From the Motor City of Detroit, here is Little Stevie Thomas. And his opponent in the blue corner, weighed in at 138 1/2 pounds. He is undefeated as a professional. 8 wins, 5 by way of knockout. From the Motor City of Detroit, I give you Marlon Thomas.
Jimmy's only 19 years old, and some say that the real questions that remain in terms of Marlon Thomas have to do with maturing physically and mentally. At 5'10", 138.5, and a reach of 74, he has the tools, the power, the size for the division, although eventually he will be a full welterweight, maybe on the middleweight or beyond, you know, as he grows up. Steve Thomas, on the other side of the coin, is older by 5 years, has a little greater reach, and is a little bit lighter. They both stand about the same height. Steve Thomas has had more of a checkered career, a more difficult go, as the stare down in front of Marv McDonald is now concluded. The crowd is juiced, the fighters are mad, and the bell is about to ring.
And look out, based on what happened early in this one before they threw a punch, this one might be over in a hurry. They're going to go after each other, I think, from the moment that bell rings. Round 1, scheduled for 6 junior welterweights.
Both of them tall, rangy guys in terms of the division.
Steve Thomas tries to go to the body with the right hand. Left hand misses. The check jab by Marlon misses.
Marlon Thomas jab very quick. Hasn't really popped him with it yet, but it's a quick punch, and he jumps underneath.
Marlon Thomas did score our punch of the night on a fall card, so he can hit. Steve tried to jump in low with the left jab. Marlon tried to do some damage, countering.
Like so many other things that will be better with Marlon Thomas, you know, the power will develop. He really wasn't very strong when he turned pro as a lightweight. You know, a 30-second knockout in his first pro bout notwithstanding, he wasn't a real strong guy, and he still isn't carrying a lot of muscle structure across his shoulders and arms. Of course, in order to develop that fully, as he popped Steve Thomas with a pretty good jab moving backward. As those muscles develop and expand and power comes, Jim, he'll be a welterweight.
Just 19 is.
Look how quick he is.
Marlon Thomas. Great hand speed. Inside a minute left to go, round one. Scheduled 6-rounder. Boy, for all the pre-fight bravado, it's kind of settled down. Left hand, down goes Steve Thomas. I mean, just like that, it was a sneaky left hand. I didn't even see it. And down went Steve Thomas, right up at the count of 7.
Right underneath the jaw. Just changed the angle of the punch, but it was a legit knockdown, no slip involved, and it may be time to go home, says Marlon Thomas.
11 seconds left to go in round one. Steve Thomas can weather the last 7-8 seconds now. He'll be able to go to the corner and gather. And there's the bell. Steve Thomas was knocked down by a left hand, and it was a short left uppercut, and it looked like it hit him, like you said, Chris, under the chin in the throat area. He went down, but there's no question he went down from the punch.
Maybe the Adam's apple. Maybe the Adam's apple. It's going to come right at you, right underneath, real quick. Right there. Boom. Bang. See, the follow-up, instead of jabbing, he came with the left underneath a little bit. There's the jab. He backs up, and the right hand missed. Boom, boom.
It was a left hook, really, right on the nose that did it.
From that side, we can see it wasn't under the jaw. And in the late going, after the count, Marlon Thomas moved in with a flurry. A lot of that stuff sliding by, but he did do some damage and carried the round. And of course, he already had a stake just claimed to the round with the knockdown.
Well, he talked about hand speed, and really, if you look at that sequence of the knockdown, hand speed's what did it.
He is very quick.
Round 2, scheduled 6-rounder.
Looks to me as Steve Thomas comes out, he might have had the side of his nose split a little bit. Not really bleeding, and it wouldn't bother him too much, I don't think, if he doesn't get hit there and have it torn open. But probably the result of that punch. A fakey right hand from Marlon Thomas. Hand speed, a huge difference, and he checks him. Did that close his eye? Steve Thomas came up from that punch, one-eyed for a second, squinting. Now both eyes are open.
Well, what Marlon Thomas is doing is Marlon Thomas sees when Steve Thomas comes forward, he's leaving his right hand way wide, and he's able to sneak a left inside that right hand.
He's just going to a right hand lead, and there's decent power on that. What you better have with a right lead.
You sure better. Right lead by Steve Thomas. Marlon ducked underneath it. Steve Thomas fought Jason Crutchfield to a controversial draw last May. He's 0-2 since that bout.
Big cut over the left eye.
Right, over the left eye. And that could be dangerous because that might stop this fight.
I don't think it was a punch either, Jim. I could stand corrected, but I think they cracked heads in a little melee there. And it must have just popped right open.
It looks like it's in the eyelid area. Doesn't look like he's bleeding badly though right now.
Was it a cut, or was his eyelid turned inside out, just kind of pushed out of the way?
It looked like I saw some blood coming down through the eye. It doesn't look that bad right now.
No, it doesn't look as bad right now as it did when he...
And Steve Thomas now is starting to take control. He's gone on the offensive, and he's landed some good punches as Marlon on the defensive.
We're we're just going to have to wait to the end of the round and see if there was damage to that eye. Right now, it's not apparent, and I thought there was a huge cut when he looked over this way. Good shot by Steve Thomas, another one.
And he's leading with the right hand and goes to work with the body. Right uppercut by Marlon Thomas. Right uppercut by Marlon again, and then a right cross and a right counter by Steve. They are exchanging some leather, fans. And Thomas is working off a southpaw stance with the right jab. He switched leads. Working to the body with the right hand, and they still are cracking heads.
Yeah. Well, that cut exists, Jim. I can see some blood again, but it may not be that critical.
Well, Steve Thomas has fought his way back into this fight after being down in round 1. He switched leads, went to a southpaw look, and really got some offense going, and there is a cut over the eye of Steve Thomas. It's in the eyelid area. Now they'll go to work with some ice and some Vaseline on that eye, but that's an area that's very dangerous. Referees and doctors will look at that because the blood flows into the eye. It can cause a problem with sight. If you can't see a punch coming, you're in danger.
We'll see if we can find the source of the cut as we go back into round number 2. There's where I don't think it was there. That didn't look like their heads came, maybe right there. But I didn't think there was a punch involved. I could be dead wrong, of course. But it's about right there when his head turned toward us, Jim, and we both noticed it at the same time. Toward the end of the round, Steve Thomas came back. Couple of good shots. That left hand against Marlon Thomas moves him away. And now we're into round 3.
Steve Thomas, who was very effective when he changed to the southpaw style, now comes back out in a conventional style right-handed. Marlon, meantime, goes to work, trying to throw heavy shots, landing mostly on the gloves.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's ripping some beauties to his elbow.
Right. Now they're just leaning on each other and banging away. And Marlon is backing Steve up into the neutral corner, trying to get to work against the ropes.
Steve Thomas, of course, he throws his elbows out to try and control the man, and then he got a hold of the back of Marlon Thomas's head. It's his usual style. Pop.
That left was over behind the ear of Steve Thomas. I'm not so sure this is the fight Marlon wants to fight, is it? Leaning
now with his hand speed and a little bit of a reach advantage. I think he wants to be a little further away.
Again.
But the hand speed of Steve Thomas has improved since the first round. He started throwing some
right,
stuff.
And he switched leads.
He switched and then just switched back. He's just changing sides on Marlon Thomas, trying to confuse him. Nice little combination working backward into the corner by Steve Thomas, and he didn't pay a thing for it.
No.
Marlon missed altogether.
He tried to throw a right-hand counter, but Steve Thomas dropped underneath it and got out. Right uppercut, right cross by Marlon, caught on the gloves of Steve Thomas.
I think Steve Thomas is going to do just fine at medium range. Right about here, or a little further apart, he's in charge. The long-range stuff that Marlon Thomas established in the first round earned him a knockdown.
And Steve Thomas right now is taking over.
Yeah, he's taken about a foot away from the spacing. And he's whipping Marlon Thomas at the moment.
And Marlon Thomas is trying to fight out the ropes, and Steve Thomas is just hammering away.
Steve Thomas trying to fight off the effect of a knockdown in the first round and ignore a cut on his eyelid, the left eye. Big shot.
And again, working from the southpaw stance. It was a right jab followed by a straight left down the middle. There's a right hook. Then a left to the body and another right uppercut. Steve Thomas continuing to go to work on Marlon as he bends him back across the ropes. inside. 5 seconds left to go in round 3. That will do it. The end of round 3. And neither of them are very happy with each other as Marlon makes a gesture to Steve, not too happy about Steve bending him backwards over the ropes.
Emmanuel Stewart out there quickly getting his guy back to the corner to get him sit down, settled down, cooled out, give him some instruction. And Stewart working on the left eye of Marlon Thomas while they give new treatment to the left eye of Steve Thomas. There's Marlon Thomas. I think they're just trying to keep a mouse from coming up. They got the ice up there. He took a pretty good beating in that round from Steve Thomas. Thomas winning the round clearly in my mind, Jim. They're closing down, but he still has a deficit. Round 2 was pretty even in my mind after he had been knocked down in the first, but he's taking over the fight at this point, and he did it basically by changing the range.
And changing leads, I think, too, with going southpaw style. He's kind of confused Marlon Thomas to some degree. We're back to round 4. Marlon Thomas against Steve Thomas. Marlon on the right, Steve on the left. Steve Thomas continuing to fight from that southpaw look. Normally not his style, but that's the way he's fighting. Thomas had a very, very good round 3. Steve Thomas did. And now Marlon Thomas comes on and starts to get offensive with Steve Thomas backed up against the ropes. Steve stuck his tongue out and said, "You're not hurting me." He was down. Steve Thomas was down in the first round. And now Marlon continues to work. And he's gaining momentum as he has hit Steve Thomas with uppercuts, right hands, and left hands against the ropes. Steve Thomas continues to stay in that southpaw look. Good right uppercut from Marlon. Steve trying to work the uppercuts. Steve misses with a wild right hook. There's a right hand by Marlon. Right uppercut by Marlon. Answered by a right uppercut. Oh, and there's a butt from Steve Thomas to the back of his head. It right on the bridge of the nose of Marlon Thomas, but no damage done.
And no warning from Marv McDonald. Inadvertent, I'm sure.
Good left to the body by Marlon. Left lead falls short. Steve trying to find a way to get inside, and he gets hit by a right hand as Marlon comes back. Left by Marlon Thomas as he backs Steve up across the ring. It appears in this round, Chris, as though Marlon has regained some of the momentum he may have lost in round 3.
But not retaking the momentum back. I mean, he's leveled things out.
He's regained a little. Oh, big left hand by Steve Thomas. Marlon Thomas goes down. The count is at 4. He's up at 5 and walking to the neutral corner.
He stopped the count. Steve Thomas went out to the center of the ring and got in an aggressive style like a linebacker ready to attack. Marv McDonald got wind of it from a judge, actually from an inspector ringside, and now he tries to rush out. But he gave 10 seconds to Marlon Thomas. And the round comes
Marv
to an
McDonald. And that's the round. Right at the end of the round, and it was a left hand right on the button that dropped Marlon Thomas right on his face. And as you said, Chris, it may have cost him that he came out of that corner early.
You bet it did.
And Marv McDonald stopped the count and pushed him back.
Now there's the knockdown, right solid to the point of the chin, and down he goes. But first, Steve Thomas fiddles with that crap, which costs him time. See, the count hasn't started yet. Now McDonald's going to turn after he escorts him over. There's 5 seconds, 4 seconds. All right, now here he comes. Take another look at it. Miss. There's the shot. And down he goes. Marvin McDonald first has to take him to the neutral corner. Then he stops the count. Then he has to grab him and shove him back to the corner before he resumed. And he ran out of time. See, he's coming out already, and they're not going to start the count.
The count at that point was 5, and McDonald turned around, stopped the count, and came back. Now we're going to live action in round 5.
Well, you figure 15 seconds to go to work that he wasted at the end of the round, Jim. No saving by the bell except the last round in these fights in the 10-point must system and the stuff in Michigan. Had he knocked him down again and really stung him, I mean, he let him off the hook. That was immature and costly, perhaps.
And now we've got a low shot. A low shot from Steve Thomas. And Marvin McDonald, the referee, is going to give him as much time as he needs to recover from this. That is the rule. A low blow from Steve Thomas, and Marlon gets as much time as he wants to recover, and he does recover. And now we're back to action. Both fighters have been down. Marlon Thomas in round 4, Steve Thomas in round 1. Steve Thomas, since round 3, has seemed to take the momentum away from Marlon Thomas. And now they're just banging away against the ropes.
They're doing a number is Steve Thomas.
Straight right hand down the middle from Steve Thomas. Rocked the head back of Marlon. Big right to the body by Steve Thomas. Another right and another left. A right and a left. Back goes Marlon Thomas into the ropes. Steve Thomas all over him. We got better than half the round left to go. Back to the middle of the ring. Marlon Thomas back on his toes. Steve Thomas working from that southpaw stance once again. Marv McDonald, the referee, will separate the two. Marlon backing up into his own corner. Steve looking for room to find the big shot. Threw the right uppercut and missed with it. Straight left. Lands by Steve. And Marlon Thomas right now just grabbing and holding on.
He's holding on for dear life, trying to survive.
Right.
See if he can get something going maybe in the 6th round. I don't think he's going to win this round unless he comes up with a big shot.
Left hook by Marlon Thomas. Tried to make something happen, but Steve Thomas is all over him. Shoves him into the ropes again. Works the left and then the right. Marlon trying to come back off the ropes. There's the bell ending. Round 5 as Steve Thomas, who was on the deck in round 1, has come back and has knocked Marlon Thomas down in round 4 and moved ahead and gained momentum again going into round 5. Now we come to the final round, round 6 of this junior welterweight war between Marlon and Steve Thomas.
Good work by Steve Thomas. In spite of the display at the end of round number 4 that cost him precious time when he had his opponent in dire straits. But that kind of shot helped him carry when our scorecard, Jim, round number 5. But earlier on, and we talked about the fact he fights every which way but loose. Elbows moving all the time. A lot of different things in his repertoire. We've seen some of it earlier on. But right now, this man right there with a cut on his eye and having been knocked down is on the verge of a very important victory.
Now Marlon Thomas that time, just as soon as they touched gloves, put the right hand over Marv McDonald, had Marv McDonald backed him up the ropes, and then a Bush League move by Marlon Thomas. Now Marv McDonald lets them go.
24 years old is Steve Thomas. I think the age difference makes him a stronger man. We talked about the maturing process of young Marlon Thomas. with his 8-0 record, are a lot of tools, but physical as well as mental maturity, presence in the ring, clear thinking out there. That was part of the process that had yet to be completed, and he just demonstrated one of the reasons why. This is a professional ring, and that kind of foolishness, as with some of the other foolishness from Steve Thomas earlier on when he had the knockdown, is it just doesn't belong.
Doesn't belong. And the other thing you notice about this final 6th round, Steve Thomas came out and started the first minute of the round fighting right-handed, or with the left jab leading the left jab. Now he switched back over to the southpaw style. It has been this style that has really gotten him the edge over Marlon Thomas so far in this bout. Straight left hand, slides by. Better than halfway through the 6th and final round of this one right now. Both fighters have been down in the fight. Steve Thomas in round 1, Marlon Thomas in round 4.
Steve Thomas winless since December of 1990. Better than a year. 91 was a tough year.
And in a real grudge match. And he has responded big time. He now backs Marlon up against the ropes. This is where he's done most of his damage. Throws a big right and then a left to the body, then a right hand and gets hit by a right uppercut. Straight right lead, got Marlon Thomas against the ropes. A right again, a left, as Steve Thomas continues to work Marlon Thomas against the ropes. Inside 30 seconds left in the bout. There's a wild back punch from like a kickboxer style thrown by Marlon Thomas, and that is not right and gets a warning from Marv McDonald.
He still is a man-child.
He sure is. Got to learn a lot of things yet. As we get inside 10 seconds, this fight will not be decided by a knockout. There's the bell. It's over. Steve Thomas and Marlon Thomas embrace. It is over. And it has been a war, no question about that. And a very, very entertaining battle. This is Marlon Thomas in that kickboxing move, which is not boxing. And Marv McDonald immediately in there to tell him this is not kickboxing.
And he missed, too.
This one's gone to the judges, and it should be an interesting decision indeed. Early part of the fight going to Marlon Thomas, in the second half of the fight very much so to Steve Thomas. So let's go up into the ring and Wally Jackson for the official decision.
And we go to the scorecards. Rose Graybell scored it 57-55. Chip Acey scored it 58-54. And John Parrish scored it 58-54 to the winner by unanimous decision, Stevie Thomas.
What a decision, and what a happy young man Steve Thomas is.